Welcome back to another episode of Crowd Control. We're back here this week with some campaigns that are running, one that is about to run, and a special guest that we know and love here on the channel often.
Of course. You know, that kind of narrows it down a little bit.
Kind of narrows it down. It ain't Emily.
Wow. Only because Emily doesn't do these segments.
No.
Not because we don't love Emily.
Well, of course we love Emily.
Well, welcome back. Yeah, we do have another full week this week with a couple more big launches.
Yep.
So we're going to jump right into that. And we're going to talk about, actually, this might be maybe the smallest and least likely to escape notice, but it's Salon De Paris. I think that's how you would do it.
Or if you're from America, Salon
of Paris?
De Paris.
So
Salon De Paris.
I think this is a real thing. The Salon De Paris it's like an art exhibit or exhibition, I guess I should say. And it was like a competition where people would bring their artwork to kind of try to win it. I don't know how that works. I mean,
but the game this is the most Euro-y of the games we're talking about, and it's a very Euro-y game. It's got mainly worker placement, but some set collection, some contract fulfillment. It looks like you're basically using your worker, but it's not like it doesn't sound like it's traditional worker placement. No. You put a worker out and you're moving that worker around to take actions, but to do other things too. Not only are you taking actions of locations, but you're gathering inspiration from around the city streets. You're listening to some of the gossip. Mechanically, this is represented, I think, by basically getting an understanding of what critics are looking for, what kind of art you want to create. You take all those things back on your sketchbook, which is your player board, and then ultimately there's this whole big section of the main board where you're going to be hanging on the wall at the Salon De Paris. And then that one actually looks like there's some spatial elements.
And there's set collection, there's worker placement, they promise tons of combos, which is what really drew me in. As soon as I hear that,
you hear the word combos. You just put combos in your Kickstarters and you'll have us come running.
And it has quite a striking look to it too, like with all those icons out, and then once you start hanging everything on the wall, which I'm going to have to do some research to see what that wall looked like, because I'm guessing that is part of the actual element of that competition. I assume
just from the standpoint of the fact that there's this massive red wall and there's going to be a lot of different paintings hanging on it. And the paintings come in not like polyominoes, they're effectively just different
and they're
types of
abstract
rectangles.
Too. And I don't mean they're abstract art. I mean the whole idea of these paintings is abstracted down to icons that represent some of the paintings. And so, you know, the theme does feel connected there, but it definitely, like you said, does feel super Euro-y too.
Oh yeah, very Euro-y. It would be cool if they could figure out a way where you put all those different icons and then flip them over, and it's somehow magically the tiles made some sort of weird painting.
It would have to be magic.
It would be magical.
All right, so that's Salon De Paris. The next one I wanted to talk about, I think, might be the biggest of these. This is Spirit Fire from Orange Nebula. They did Vindication, Unsettled.
What's Vindication?
Yeah, right? You've never ever heard of it, David?
I love Vindication. I liked Unsettled too. Orange Nebula, first and foremost, they make some unique games.
And beautiful games.
Yeah, Vindication is really a Euro cube pusher at its heart, but it doesn't look like that at all. Unsettled was an incredibly ambitious sci-fi epic sort of adventure. This looks to take a little bit more... It does. Maybe a little bit from both.
I was going to say that too.
It feels like it has a little bit of all the things that they've put in their games thus far. And even, I think in their own words, at least, I don't know if it's on their Kickstarter page, but I know they've told me, like at conventions, this is like the culmination of all of their efforts.
This is by far their most ambitious project they've ever done. I mean, when you read about what this project sets out to do, you're like, no, come on. Like, that sounds epic. Like, so you kind of play a character, and like it's a weird concept, almost like Unsettled and almost like Vindication. There's not a real story or narrative that you're going through necessarily.
You are the story.
Right? You are creating your own story as you build your character, or possibly characters that span generations. You have this character box that's kind of like your persistent character that exists. Every time you come back to the game, you're going to play out of this character box with the character that you had before. So the character is going to kind of continuously grow as you play through all these different realm boxes, which are kind of like the adventures.
It's kind of like the planets from Unsettled. It feels like vibe. The realm boxes. The interesting thing about the characters, and I don't know that this is confirmed, but some of the things and some of the words they chose to use and their descriptions make it sound almost like those character boxes could be almost legacy feeling-esque in that, like, maybe your character passes away, and like by the end of their whole experience, maybe you're playing Descendants. I don't know. It sounds like there's other things and directions that your character and your sort of experience can take. But they've definitely leaned very much into a, like I said earlier, you are the story sort of thing. So this is no sort of like crafted, tailored narrative.
You
this
play
is
through it at your own speed,
thing.
and you make decisions. You go to specific areas. You can play a realm box. You can come back to that same realm and have a totally different experience. They've described each realm box as almost like an open world MMO where they just kind of drop you into the center of it, and you just go and you just do the things that you want to do, and then you can go to another realm with that character and just kind of grow and build your story over time. And that sounds to me super cool and super ambitious.
It does. It sounds super cool. It sounds super ambitious. It sounds ambitious to the point where,
I want to get my hands on it.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like, well, let's see if they can pull this off. The one other thing I did want to mention, this sounds like it's built mostly as a solo experience.
Sure, yeah, if you didn't kind of gather that, yeah.
At the very least, first and foremost, a solo experience. So keep that in mind as you approach this. And, if you're someone who thinking, oh, I'm going to play this, it's going to be 4 players, it's like going to be some sort of epic campaign game. It might be, but it sounds like everyone at the table has to have effectively the core box.
And I think it maxes out at 3 even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's what they said. Now that could, I don't know, things can change over the course of the Kickstarter because they've promised a lot of stretch goals and other content. But yeah, each person brings, like that character that you've been building, everything goes back in your character box. You just grab it, take it to your friend's house, and you jump in. So everybody does need their own character box and their own unique character to kind of play together in the same big open world environment.
Yeah, we don't exactly know how it all works. I think it's purposely vague a little bit because I think it's something they want you to experience. But yeah, hopefully we'll get a chance to experience it. We haven't touched it yet. We haven't seen it yet, but hopefully we will sometime soon.
Yeah, and that one's already running, as is the next one. This one I pulled David in on this one.
You did.
Because I thought this would be right up his alley. It's called Draculas Curse. It might as well be called
AKA
Castlevania, the board game.
Castlevania. Like, this is not a licensed project, so they're fine. Dracula, I'm pretty sure, is in
Dracula's in the public domain. You can make games about Dracula.
With that said, these people, and the creators admitted this, took massive amounts of inspiration from their fandom of Castlevania. And it looks very much like that. The game looks like it was completely inspired by that type of experience. This is a one versus many game where one player is going to be playing Dracula, doing all sorts of things, building out the castle. If you've ever played Castlevania, any of the old Castlevanias, you know the castle is this really wild sort of like two-dimensional side, sort of, what do they call that?
Side-scroller?
Side-scroller. Well, I know there's a side-scroller game, but the castle map itself has a very unique side, profile
I don't know what
view.
Call it two-dimensional. That's what I've always called it.
But they've recreated that on the board, and Dracula is going to be building onto that with new rooms, and then the rooms that he builds is going to have like all sorts of different powers that they can utilize, and now the rest of the people are slayers working against Dracula.
Yeah, and it's got a tile placement mechanic that is also their other inspiration they cited was Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a classic kind of Halloween game, your like horror game, I guess I should say. But that tile placement mechanic of like as you're exploring Dracula's castle, you're adding tiles to the castle, and again, like David said, every tile does something different. Of course, Dracula can manipulate that, and it's his castle. He has traps and monsters and things waiting for you. And the goal of the Slayers is to make it all the way through the castle. And of course, as you're doing that, just like in Castlevania, you're getting new powers, you're getting new equipment, new weapons, and things like that, so that by the time you reach Dracula, if you find him before he wipes you all out, then you're going to have to actually battle Dracula with all of the stuff that you've gathered along the way. Very cool premise.
It does look really cool. I would say it sounds like this has been a labor of love for this designer for over the last several years.
Yeah.
So I always like these sorts of stories. I think this is the first game they've created. This is a first-time publisher.
It looks like it, yeah.
The project is doing pretty well already. They're firing on most all the cylinders. The artwork looks good. The premise looks good. Like some of the graphic design, I feel like it shows itself as a first-time game, but mostly overall, this looks like a pretty well-produced
the art
game.
is so good. The art is so good that we had to scroll down to make sure it wasn't AI.
Yeah,
because that's how the artwork is great, and it looks like almost a carbon copy of like that style of Castlevania. But they do actually significantly talk about the process of creating that art and the artist who does this has done a ton of artwork that looks like this. So it's very cool that they decided to do that. But that's just how good. And it's said that we have to, these days when we see a project that has stunning artwork, you're like, that artwork looks almost too good to be real, but it is.
We're going to have to put a disclaimer at the beginning of every episode committing to the fact that neither of us are artificially intelligent. I mean, I'm artificially intelligent a little bit.
I'm not even intelligent, so I think you have to have some level to be. Anyway.
Talk about self-deprecating humor.
But no, the Draculas Curse looks like a lot of fun. Probably it's backing now in October. Probably be available for you to play next October. So hopefully it delivers in time for that. So we wanted to talk about one more big project, but before we do, of course, we have another special guest today.
It's Emily. No, I'm sorry. It's not. It's Jeremy Howard with another look at what he's looking forward to, or maybe what he's just got. We have no idea. We haven't really talked to him about it.
Yeah, he does whatever he wants. Here we go.
Hey party people, Mr. Howard here is up late. Want to share some of these games that's coming to retail or just deliver right now. Maybe you have these games coming, but maybe you passed on them. You want to find out what they're like going into heading to retail. I'm just going to give you a little bit of tidbits that I know about them. I back these games. We'll see how they go, right? So this is Mercurial. Mercurial is a absolutely beautiful game. This is by Good Games Publishing. I should have some coverage of this coming up soon, but this is kind of a hand management Century Spice Rotis type game, but also dice as well. You're using a combination of those to build this kind of elemental spells and casting these spells to fulfill cards and things of that nature. It's a really smart game from what I remember. I backed this game a while back and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this one a shot. I believe it's the same designer as Endogenesis, which is a game that I liked, a nice little hand management game I liked before. But this one here is beautiful, and I like the combination of nice hand management, resource allocation in a very interesting way. I remember that part too. It's a very interesting way. And also the combination of that with dice. Definitely give this one a look. Next up. Next one coming to retail, I believe, very soon. This is by Lucky Duck Games, but this is on Kickstarter, and it had its fair share of trouble. But this one here is Senjutsu. It's actually coming in retail form, and it's got actually a fair share of miniatures in it too. It's pretty bulky for a retail game. I don't know how much it is, but Lucky Duck did send this one to me. Senjutsu is a game, about samurai, and in this game, you're actually playing a hand management game where you have a card face down, you reveal it, and you do whatever it says on the card. Of course, this is kind of a mind wit thing. You have your own abilities. Certain characters will have certain types of cards, but then they have like almost different stances and things of that nature. But you can fight through scenarios, and they even have a solo and cooperative campaign in this box. I mean, that is insane. This is quite the feat here. I cannot wait to dig into this one. But definitely give us a look if you passed up on it on the Kickstarter. I'm assuming backers already have this one here. Shout out to Lucky Duck for sending this to me. I'm really interested in this one. But next up, the big one. Here we go. Last up, whoa, you flip it like that, right? Scholars of the Sun Tigers. Now this is the new, and they say Shim game, but this is, not just Shim here. But this is a new Garfield Games game. And I'll be honest with you, when I played this one with the rest of the team, I was like, this could be their best game. Could be their best game. Architects of the West Kingdom, hard to defeat though. That's a little hyperbolic, right? A little hyperbolic. I'm sure you agree with me. But Scholars of the South Tigers, a really interesting game. And why? Because it uses this dice in a really interesting way. It's got some sense of timing, but you're taking dice and you're kind of like combining them, the primary colors, to make different colors and stuff like that. I thought that was really interesting the way that kind of puzzled me out a little bit, and I'm really excited to play the solo mode in this one too. You definitely want to check this one out and see if it's too heavy for you. We have our fair share of coverage on this one, but definitely take a look around. It is not a light game, and if you're expecting something a little bit more closer to Raiders, I believe that they're moving a lot further away from those types of games that are really accessible and a little bit more towards the medium to heavyweight type games. So those are my 3 games. Which one did you like the most? Which one are you most interested in? Which ones did you back? Let me know in the comments, and until then, take care.
And the last one we want to talk about, this one is coming up this week, depending on when you're watching this video. It is Soul Forge Fusion. Now, if you're saying, well, that game has been out, You're right, but there's a new campaign because they're really leaning into what they call it a hybrid game. They've always called it a hybrid game, but now it is really truly becoming that hybrid game because there's a digital element. So when you buy your decks of cards, you can actually scan them. They go straight into the app. You can actually play electronically. You can play with the cards. And of course, the campaign promises to include a lot of new content as well as that early access to the digital game.
Yeah, I've gotten to play the digital game. You can watch on the channel as I interview Justin Gary while we play. Spoiler alert, he just absolutely crushes me.
It's not really a spoiler. He does destroy
He's very
Ryan.
good. You guys, I don't know if you know, Justin also designed Ascension and was a tournament Magic player. So
he's no slouch.
Pretty good at CCGs.
He's no slouch, but if you want to tune in and watch Ryan crumple up into the fetal position and cry because he just got beat so badly, check out the content.
But what I will say is this app is awesome. This digital version of this game, it's sleek. It's fun to play. I've always enjoyed SoulForge Fusion, but I'll be honest, there's an element of like fiddliness with that game of like
you mean on the table?
Yeah, on the table. Every deck has 10 cards, and those cards get upgraded over time, and as you play them and as they die, they get upgraded. You take them out, you put in the
so there's
upgraded
extra
level.
cards
So you have stacks of extra cards sitting out there, and some players will tell you that they forgot to upgrade that card 3 turns ago, and that can mess up your whole game. So as much as I like the game physically, playing it digitally is so smooth, and it takes that completely out of the equation. It just works, and everything is kind of done for you, so you don't have to wonder, like, is this the moment where I'm supposed to level this thing up? No, it just does it all for you as you play the game. And like David said, it is a physical digital hybrid. So all the SoulForge decks you already have, all the SoulForge decks you're going to buy, you can put them all into the app. It shows you your complete collection, and you can smash any two of them together, just like in the physical mode, to play digital. And if you don't play physical SoulForge at all, that's fine. The digital app actually starts you with some starter decks, but then you can go buy cards, scan them in, and do whatever you want with them. Give them to your friends. Keep them in your drawer. You don't need the physical cards anymore if you're only going to play the digital version.
Yeah, it really is cool. This is not my kind of game typically. This is more Ryan's realm, and this one probably will be the same case, although I do want to try this out. But it is very slick how this works, and the cool factor is definitely there. Even just Ryan, and you'll see, check out the content. We'll shut up and stop talking about it here. But in that content, Ryan literally, you just take your phone with your camera, you scan the QR code, it takes you to the place on your phone to say, yes, add this to my account. Then you log into the game, and they're there.
Yeah.
There's
very cool animations involved. When you smash
decks, I didn't
decks,
see the animations.
It's pretty cool. The app is very slick, I have to say. Like, it feels like they put a lot of love into this. And there's some spoilers, some cool stuff that they want to introduce that I'm not even going to talk about because I want you to go watch the video and learn about all the cool stuff they have planned.
The video's probably not posted yet if you're watching this when we drop this
That's
video.
That's true, because we're not allowed to show some of this stuff until closer to the campaign launch.
It will be probably later this week, depending on when you're watching this video. So be sure to check that out. But that is all the things that we have to talk about this week in crowdfunding. Thank you for tuning in for Crowd Control, and I'm sure maybe I'm going to be gone for a little bit, but Ryan might be back for the next episode with a special guest.
I'll rotate in some special guests.
Some special guests, maybe even Emily.
We'll
maybe
see.
Grab
I would
Emily
love to get Emily to
that
do
would
one of
be
these
fantastic.
to do one of these crowd controls.
Anyway, we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.